Hey everybody, this is Country Geckos. Today I'll be showing you how to properly bathe a bearded dragon. Bathing your bearded dragon is very important, and I believe every bearded dragon owner should bathe their bearded dragon once to twice a week. It's a very important way to keep your bearded dragon nice and healthy. It'll keep your bearded dragon clean, hydrated, and make it a lot easier for him to shed. And as you can see right now, my bearded dragon is in the midst of a shed, so there's no better time than now to give him a bath. The bath will soften his shed a lot and give him the ability to get his shed off a lot easier. It'll be much easier for him to remove it from him. While you're bathing your bearded dragon, oftentimes you'll see them lapping up the water while they're bathing because they realize that they're standing in a body of water. So a lot of times, like if you provide a water dish to your bearded dragon, you'll never see them drink out of it, but when you put them in the bath, they will start drinking out of it. So they're going to be hydrated, their shed's going to come off. Also, another great thing that bathing can do, if your bearded dragon is constipated, it will help relieve of constipation. Oftentimes your bearded dragon will go to the bathroom in the water, which it's kind of gross. You need to pick it up immediately after they do it, but they will relieve themselves. I'm not sure if it's because of stress or because of the warm water. My bearded dragon never seems very stressed out when he gets in there, but he still sometimes relieves himself. You'll see your bearded dragon kind of inflate with air, like they'll get wider, which is generally a sign of stress, but what it really is your bearded dragon is trying to suck in some more air so he can stay afloat. It'll make him more buoyant in the water, which I think was a pretty cool fact. So it's less of a sign of stress, but it's more he's trying to not drown. So I'm going to go ahead and show you all the materials you need to bathe your bearded dragon. Alright, so the first thing you need obviously will be a container to bathe your bearded dragon in. This right here is a 15-quart tub. Size doesn't really come into play here. You just need to be able to have your bearded dragon fit in the container. I know a lot of people bathe their bearded dragons in their sinks, which I guess is okay, but to me it kind of sounds gross because you wash kind of nasty things down your sink pretty often, so I like to use this tub right here. As you can see, it's kind of dirty, so I'm going to go ahead and sterilize it and wash it out with hot water and use a little lemon juice to get all the stains out of it. But this is what I bathe my bearded dragon in, and it's got this, it's got a lock on it, it's got a lid right here that I've punctured some holes into so there's good ventilation. So if I can't be in the room the entire time with my bearded dragon, I can put the lid on and he's not going to run out of air or anything. He's got good ventilation. I can just leave him sitting in there because I generally bathe my bearded dragon anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. That's going to be a really good soaking time. It's very important that you keep the water temperature, which I'll talk about in just a moment, at a good temperature throughout the entire period to ensure that your bearded dragon doesn't freeze or get too hot. So the next thing you're going to need, which is very, very vital into ensuring that your bath that you give your bearded dragon is sterile and safe for your bearded dragon, is some type of dechlorinator. Here I have AquaSafe by Tetrafauna. Dechlorinators are used pretty much by all reptile owners just to ensure if you use tap water and you don't let it sit out, which sometimes I'm kind of in a rush for filling up my sprayer, or especially when you're just pouring it out of the tap for a bath, you can't, if you wait for it to dechlorinate naturally, the water will be cold. So I like just to apply this as soon as I draw my bath. I put some drops in there, the correct amount of course, to ensure that all the chlorine is eliminated, just to ensure my bearded dragon is going to have a safe bath, because as I said, and as you will see most likely, my bearded dragon will start lapping up some of that water, and I want him to get clean, reptile safe water. So I'll give you all a close-up look at that. Next thing you're going to need, I'm going to try to get up a little closer so you guys can view this a little easier, is some type of thermometer. You need to ensure that the water temperature that you're bathing your bearded dragon is not too hot or not too cold. I try to stay between 85 and 95 degrees. I try to get like at 90. You don't want to scorch your bearded dragon. You don't want to freeze your bearded dragon. It's very important that you bathe them in a proper temperature. And here I've got this really accurate, what's this by? Zoomed, just digital thermometer. I just stick the probe in the water and that tells me the temperature within 30 seconds, and then I'm ready to go. It's kind of a tip is to start off on a little higher temperature, so as your bearded dragon is being bathed, if the water cools, it's not going to get below the safe heat point. You know, if you know what I mean, like you start at 92 and by the end of the bath it's 86, you've done a good job, but you don't want it to get too cold for them. So I got these holes in the lid, of course, of this tub, so I can just stick the temperature probe down through those holes and ensure that the temperature is at a constant, safe rate. And the final thing I'll show you, which is kind of optional, it kind of depends on the scenario, is a sterilized toothbrush. Emphasize the word sterilized. We've got some really hot, almost boiling water. As you can see, it's steaming right here. I've been soaking it in there for the past, 5 to 6 minutes, I believe, just to ensure that I've gotten most of the germs off. And what I'm going to be using this toothbrush for is to help, since my bearded dragon is in the midst of a shed, not remove all of the shed for him, because, in nature, they're not having someone scrape them with a toothbrush to help them remove their shed. But it's always a good idea to kind of help them along, especially if they're struggling with locations around their toes or at the tip of their tail or some places on their back. I can use this soft bristled toothbrush to carefully just kind of help remove some of that shed, because the water and the humidity in the tub will really soften up his shed and make it a lot easier for it to be removed. So make sure that you sterilize your toothbrush. Don't use a toothbrush that you brush your teeth with, because that's gross and dumb. So I'll go ahead and walk you through the process of how I get the bath going and how I bathe my bearded dragon. So I went ahead and filled up the tub. I think it's a little too deep. I'll measure it in a second. I'll show you with the bearded dragon himself, but it's never a good idea to go much higher than their elbow level. It's either a knee or an elbow. With four-legged animals, it kind of confuses me, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. You don't want to drown them, of course. I'll show you how deep you need to make it in just a moment. But as you can see, the water temperature is just a tad bit too high, about 2 degrees too high. So I want to make sure to let that cool off for a little while, and then I'll place him in there, because like I said, you don't want to overheat them or anything. A good temperature range is about 85 to 95. I want to get it to like 93, and then I'll place him in there, I believe. I'll make sure I got the right depth, and I don't want to pour all this water out and refill it with the appropriate temperature water. I can just be patient and wait for it to cool off so I don't waste a bunch of water. So now that we've gotten the correct temperature, I'm going to go ahead and add the dechlorinator. We've gotten the water temperature correct and I've added the dechlorinator. I'll go ahead and add my bearded dragon into his bath. And I've got it at a good, let's see what it is, 92 degrees at the moment. So it should be good. If it gets too cold, I'll add some more hot water. But otherwise, he should be all right. So as you can see, I'll give you a better view, but it's a little too deep. So I'm going to go ahead and bilge out some of the water. As you can see, the water is going over his knees and his elbows right here. So I just need to get a scoop or a cup and just get some of the water out of there. Get some of the water out of there so it's a safe depth, and then I'll close up the lid and let him soak for a minute, and then I'll show you guys how to properly brush them. So as y'all can see, I've got him in here. I'm going to let him soak for about 15 minutes, and in the last 5 minutes I'll tend to him with the toothbrush. Right here, I'll tend to him with the toothbrush and finish up his soaking, and then once I'm totally completed, I'll show you guys how to dry him off. Alright everybody, so it's been about 15 minutes since I placed the top on, so I went ahead and took that off, checked on him, make sure he's all good. And as you can see, if you remember from the beginning of the video, how coarse and rigid his shed looks, but now look how soft and pliable it is, so that's going to make it so much easier for him to naturally remove some of that shed. But as you can see, I've got this toothbrush right here, so what you can do is simply, see if I can get him in the shot a little better, just kind of scrape at the shed a little bit, like I'm doing. Make sure to always, even when you're petting your beard, he's freaking out a little bit, but even when you're just petting your bearded dragon, to always pet laterally down his back, because that's where the scales are aligned. If you pet forward, it'll be kind of irritating and won't feel very good because all the scales are facing this way. So make sure if you use a toothbrush that you scrape backwards. So you just gently kind of scrape at the shed, and if it's not going to come off, don't force it off, because obviously they can get the majority of it off themselves. He's kind of a little stressed out, and I don't blame him. So just simply scrape back at it a little bit. If it seems to irritate them, don't mess with them too much. As you can see, most of the shed's pretty much softened and will be super easy for him to remove in a little while. But you can help him just a little bit by pulling it back just a tad, but don't force it, because something you can do is like cut them or prematurely remove the shed, which can cause infection. So make sure if you are scraping with the toothbrush, just to kind of stroke at it and get some of it off, but not like grab a hold of it and rip it off like some people would rip off their scab. like in people, even if you rip off your scab, what it's going to do is cause more scabbing or cause you to get some type of infection. So it's important you don't just like rip off their shed prematurely. Let them have time to get the shed off themselves. So another kind of trouble location, another trouble location for bearded dragons is between their eyes and their head. You don't want to pour water between their eyes and head, because what's going to happen is the water's going to get into their nostrils and could cause drowning or some serious issues. So what I do is I just get my finger wet or put some on the toothbrush and simply drop a couple of droplets between their head. And I don't do much scraping in between there because they can generally get that off themselves. But I want to make sure that the entire body gets some type of water coverage. So what I'm going to do from now on out is I'm just going to set him in here for a few more minutes, let him finish up and kind of chill out. Then I'll show you what I do after I get done with the bath. So I went ahead and removed him from the container. As you can tell, he's still a little wet. I haven't dried him off yet. I want to keep him wet for just a few more minutes so it's easier for me to brush him, because he was, as you could tell in the previous clip, he was a little stressed out. Towards the end of the bath, he seems to get stressed out. For the first 10 minutes or so, he's pretty fine, but after a while, he's like, just go ahead and let me out, please. And it's okay with me. So what I'm doing is I'm just very gently brushing away at these scales. As you can see, I've made some progress on these side scales. I don't want any of this shed to get caught up on his spines that go down his back, because those, I've noticed, can be trouble locations. You can see this is very easily coming off now. And I'm not going to go all the way because I'm going to let him do the rest of it, because obviously he's better at doing it than I am. I've kind of pushed some of this back so it's a little easier for him to shed. Make sure you don't separate too much of it. You want to try to make it come off in pretty large pieces, so it's just easier for them. And if they have any shed stuck to their toes, as you can see, he's not really shedding on his toes right now, at least from what I can tell. Let's try to rearrange him. It appears that right now on his toes he's doing fine. So that's for a lot of reptiles, the toes seem to be the trouble areas, like leopard geckos especially, a bunch of different animals, especially if they live in low humidity environments like bearded dragons. Their toes are generally problem areas for shed, but it appears that appears that he's okay right now around his toes. And as you can see, he's freaking out, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how to dry him off. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys kind of how I dry them off. And drying off is probably the easiest part of bathing your bearded dragon, because their skin is very hydrophobic, meaning that once you pull them out of the water, the majority of it kind of falls off of them. So basically what I do is I just kind of set them on something that is absorbent, like paper towel. And as you can see, there's a little bit clinging to his body, and I just kind of let him sit there for a couple minutes so all the water falls off, so he doesn't get cold when he gets back into his cage. And if I see any noticeable water spots, which I very rarely do, I'll just dab him up with a piece of paper towel, or if I got a little washcloth. But it appears that he's pretty dry. As you can see, some water was on his stomach, and his shed absorbed a lot of water, so that's where a lot of the water's going to drain off. But that was a pretty successful bathing session. As you can see, he's a little more mellow now that he's out of the bath. So I'll go ahead and wrap up the bathing process and set him back in his terrarium. Alright, so I went ahead and set him back into his terrarium, and as you can see, he's gone ahead and crawled under his basking lamp. He's going to go ahead and get thermoregulated. It's best after you're bathing your bearded dragon to be quick once you're finished, because he's going to get a lot cooler, because the surrounding water is not as hot, obviously, as his hot spot in his terrarium. So you need to make sure you dry him off and get him under his heat lamp pretty quickly. It's not going to cause any serious harm if you leave your bearded dragon out of his cage for an extended period of time, but just to play it safe and ensure that he's back to his healthy temperatures, just kind of be quick and get him back into his cage. He's warming back up right now. As you can see, it was a pretty successful bath. A lot of the skin's coming off. He'll work on that throughout the rest of the day. I predict that he'll get probably most of this off by the end of the day. So yeah, so I'm gonna make some concluding statements and wrap up with the video. Alright everybody, so that's pretty much how you bathe your bearded dragon. That's how I bathe my bearded dragon. I've done a decent amount of research on bathing your bearded dragon just to make sure I'm a reputable source of information, and I've made sure that I'm bathing my bearded dragon right, because it's such an important part of caring for your bearded dragon. It keeps them hydrated, keeps them clean, Really helps with their shedding. As you can tell, there's an obvious impact and immediate impact of what baths do for bearded dragons on shedding. As you can see, his shed's kind of falling off his back. It's much more malleable and much softer than it was about an hour ago. So that's going to make it a lot easier for him to finish his shed and be healthy at the end of it. So guys, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Make sure to bathe your bearded dragon. It's very important. I do it about 1 to 2 times a week. I generally just do it once a week, but if he's shedding, I try to do it twice just to ensure that I give him an extra hand on removing his shed. But make sure you guys bathe your bearded dragons and do it properly. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications, and if you feeling like it, go ahead and drop a comment. Thank you guys so much. We're very close to 2,000 subscribers, so be sure to hit that subscribe button. This is Country Echoes. I'll see you all on the next one.